Thank you so much, Way Up, for having us today. We're super excited to share a little bit of T-Mobile with all of you. And so thank you so much for joining the call. My name is Kristen Grover. I've been with T-Mobile for 12 years, and I've been on this team for less than a year, but I am super passionate about our summer internship programs. So we're going to learn a lot today. So what is our agenda for today? First, we're going to kick it off with our info session, and then we will transition to our panelists, and then we will leave some time at the end for some Q&A. So I'll pass it over to Caroline.
Well, hi, everybody. My name is Caroline Brock. I am also a recruiter on the same team as Kristen here, except I joined T-Mobile just in March. So I am still new to the team, and I am loving my time at T-Mobile, and I could not be more excited to present to you guys today and chat a little bit more about our summer internship program. So let's go ahead and kick it off. I'm going to go over kind of where we're headed with our info session today. So first, you're going to get to know a little bit more about the uncarrier. So our culture, our values, our benefits, things like that, so that you get comfortable with who the uncarrier is. Then we're going to talk a little bit more about your Magenta summer experience. So this is going to be a brief program overview of all the info that you need to know about our internship program. Then we're going to touch briefly as well on what to expect from the hiring process so that you are prepared as you are submitting your application and you feel like you know what our timeline is and what to expect. And then, just as Kristen said, we're going to transition into a time of a panel and Q&A so we get all of your questions addressed. So I want to take just a moment here to pause and just honestly brag for a second about all of the awesome accomplishments that T-Mobile has had over the past couple of years. So I feel that these accomplishments not only reflect how awesome it is to be a part of the uncarrier, but I feel they also reflect a lot of our values and the things we put at, the forefront of our service and the forefront of our employees. So I want to just take a moment and pause for you all to be able to read some of these awards before we move on. So I'm going to take just a quick moment. Awesome. So one of the core values at T-Mobile is that people are at the core of what we do. We deliver for our people. And I think I want to talk a little bit about some of our benefits that reflect that. So I'm going to start off with our #VU policy. This is essentially our corporate dress code or lack thereof. We do not have a dress code at T-Mobile. If you have tattoos or piercings or pink hair or anything like that, we don't want you to cover that up. We want you to be able to come to T-Mobile and feel like you can be yourself. So the other thing about our dress code that's awesome is you will see so much T-Mobile apparel on campus when you're with us in person. You will always see somebody rocking a T-Mobile t-shirt, and don't worry, as an intern, you will also supply you with lots of swag and apparel so that you can fit right in when you're on campus with us. I also want to talk a little bit about our health resources. We have free physical, financial, and mental health resources for all of our employees, including our interns. We offer free access to gyms on campus or virtual workout programs as well, free financial counseling, as well as free mental health counseling on demand. We want to make sure that we are investing in your whole self, not just your work self. So those are some awesome benefits for you to take advantage of while you're with us. We also have paid holidays and paid time off for our interns. So don't feel like you have to give up on your summer plans just because you're doing an internship with us. We want you to be able to pursue those plans. You don't have to cancel anything. You're going to have that PTO to use during the summer. The last thing I want to talk about here is our community team events. Our community team hosts events with the intention of you being able to step away from your desk for a little bit, be able to take a breather and connect with your peers. So some of my favorite community team events that I've participated in recently, we had a watercolor painting class. We had a build your own stress ball event where we filled up balloons with Orbeez. It was awesome. And a build your own succulent terrarium. I have that on my desk still. But our community team is always coming up with new, fresh ideas for these events for you to be able to just step away, kind of recenter yourself during the workday and just take a break to connect with your peers. So that's an awesome perk and benefit of being on campus with us. So T-Mobile delivers for its employees, right? But what about outside of T-Mobile? What about the community around us? How are we investing in people outside of T-Mobile? So I want to touch on a few different things of how we're kind of connecting with our community. The first of those being our energy. Sustainability is really important to T-Mobile, and that's why 100% of our energy utilized nationwide is from renewable resources. We also have disaster relief efforts that we've been doing for the past few years, but specifically for Hurricane Ian. As Hurricane Ian hit the Southeast, we deployed trucks of our employees to provide free Wi-Fi, free device charging for those who are affected. We also expanded unlimited data, talk, and text to all of those in affected counties. Our Changemaker Challenge is the last thing I want to talk about here. And this is something to really invest in the younger generation. This is something where students from ages 13 to 18 can submit bold ideas for driving digital empowerment, for producing equity into action, and for supporting a thriving planet, all for the chance to win thousands of dollars towards their venture. So 15 students are going to be selected to win $15,000 to pursue the venture that they created. So we have all these external efforts related to doing the right thing always, but that also extends to our internal employees. Diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging is fully integrated into everything we do here at T-Mobile. We really make an effort to embed that into our culture. And there's a few different ways that we do that. We have local DE&I chapters at every hub across the nation. Our hubs are our larger offices across the nation. These chapters, they host events, they foster discussion, and they facilitate learning around DE&I efforts, and are an awesome thing to get involved in, just to connect with your peers on a level of things that you're interested in. And over the past few months, we've hosted lots of different events. We celebrated Hispanic Heritage Month as well as Women's History Month with tons of events to kind of connect with peers, celebrate culture, and learn something new. We also have our 9 employee resource groups, or as we like to call at T-Mobile, our ERGs. These are our DE&I based communities that are focused on really fostering belonging in our community. We want to make sure that you feel connected and like you have a safe space to connect with your peers at T-Mobile. So we have our Women and Allies Network, Black Empowerment Network, Accessibility Community, Pride, Veterans and Allies Network, Asian Pacific Allies, Magenta Latinx, Multi-Generational Network, and Indigenous Peoples Network. So lots of different ERGs for you to get involved in. Many of our employees here at T-Mobile are involved in anywhere from 1 to all of them. A lot of these ERGs are intended also for allies. So if there is a cause or a people group that you feel really inclined to support, it's not only for that community, but also allies. So you can join anywhere from 1 to all of them, whichever is a best fit for you. I also want to touch on some data backing our ERGs. Our data shows that our employees that are involved in ERGs are actually more likely to achieve promotions or lateral transfers because of the networking that's involved in some of these chapters. So awesome. I want to go ahead and transition into a time of chatting a little bit more about our internship program specifically. So I want to kick that off with showing you all a video. This video was actually created by one of our interns from the past year. So you may even see a couple of faces that you may recognize later. Some of our panelists I know are in this video, so keep an eye out for that, but I am going to go ahead and kick it off.
There has never been a better time to be a part of T-Mobile.
T-Mobile is a leader in innovation. I was like, I'm going to apply there.
T-Mobile means opportunity for growth,
Breaking grounds.
Fun. Experience.
The future.
Interns represent the company that we are building for.
T-Mobile's been really great at making sure that all the interns feel as integrated as possible.
They gave me this kind of a feeling. I belong here. I belong to the team.
T-Mobile has encouraged me to utilize my skills to the best of my ability, even as a less experienced employee.
2 skills that I've really developed in events is project management as well as inventory analysis.
I got to use my backgrounds in data science and marketing to make sure that the team has access and visibility to all of the field event campaigns.
You're exploring unknown territories, so a lot of times you'll be the first time exploring things, like you'll become the explorer.
Here at T-Mobile, you're not put into a box as far as what you can be. It was really interesting to see how quickly that my work can have an effect. It kind of like made my imposter syndrome go away.
T-Mobile has really emphasized that point of constantly looking to improve your skill set and grow, along with building relationships.
While I'm at T-Mobile, I don't really just feel like I'm an intern, but I guess a part of that T-Mobile family.
One thing that I love about T-Mobile is that they're preparing their interns for full-time career opportunities.
Whether you choose to stay here at T-Mobile long-term or go to a different company, your growth opportunities will be infinite.
Awesome. I'm going to transition into just giving you all the data that you need to know about our internship program specifically. These are all the need to knows to kick off your Magenta experience this summer. So we have a 12-week full-time paid internship. So you are not going to be grabbing coffee or shredding paper. You are going to become a fully integrated member of the team that you join. You'll be working with a mentor as well as your hiring manager to really ensure that you are having an experience that you can carry with you in your career. As some of our interns were saying in the video, they felt like they were being prepared for their career, whether they were going to continue with T-Mobile or move somewhere else. We want to give you those transferable skills so that you're able to get the most out of your summer experience. We host 2 different cohorts. We have one from May through August, and then the other is from June through September. This is loosely based off of school schedules, so you actually get to pick which one works the best for you. For eligibility, we hire everyone from undergraduate to master's to PhD students. We hire non-traditional students that maybe started their degree program later than traditionally. And so we accept people of all ages as long as you're pursuing a full-time degree at a university, then you are eligible to participate in our program. This also goes for folks who have finished their program already and they are still within a year of graduating from their program. You would still be eligible. For international students, we also do hire international students on a case-by-case basis. It depends on sponsorship needs and things of that nature, but if you have questions about that, feel free to reach out to someone on our team. We'd be happy to walk you through it. We're hiring in 5 different locations. We're hiring in 5 different locations. Bellevue, Washington, where our main headquarters is. Overland Park, Kansas, where our second headquarters is. Frisco, Texas, Atlanta, Georgia, and Reston, Virginia. One of the cool things I like to highlight about our locations is that we actually offer relocation benefits for our interns. So if you do not live within 50 miles of one of these locations, that's okay. Many of our hiring managers are willing to add relocation benefits to your offer. So that would include flights or transportation to the office that you would be working at, as well as housing for the summer, typically in a hotel with a kitchenette, so you can still cook, that kind of stuff, as well as a transportation stipend to use to and from work. You may be asking yourself, do we offer remote internships this year? We have offered remote in the past, but this year we decided to have all of our interns in person with us. We think it's a better experience overall. We really want you to participate. Just because our internships are in person does not mean that you have to be in office from 8 to 5 every single day. Most of our teams at T-Mobile do not have an 8 to 5 schedule, nor do they come in every day of the week. There's a lot of flexibility there. And that's something that if you are hired, you can work with your hiring manager to find out when is the best time for you to be in office. What days are your hiring managers going to be in? So you can have that kind of connection with them, but you still have that hybrid work flexibility. I want to also touch a little bit on our events and activities. We host lots of different fun things. It's not just all work related. We want you to have an awesome and also entertaining summer. So the first thing we host is our executive speaker series. This is a chance for you to get to hear from members of our senior leadership team, like our CEO, our chief human resources officer, our chief digital officer, and more. They are going to come in and present, tell you a little bit more about their careers, how they ended up where they're at, and then open it up to a Q&A portion where you get to just ask further questions of them. I know at some of these events, even our CEO makes it really fun. Sometimes he will give out free prizes to people that ask questions. I know he was giving out iPhones the last time we had him on. It's usually a pretty fun event. But the unique thing about these speaker series is that if you're in person in the location that they are presenting in, you get that opportunity to have that one-on-one connection with them after. Maybe you just ask them a question and get that visibility that way. But if you want to approach them after, introduce yourself and ask them if they want to have a meeting. I know one of our interns from the past year, shout out to Casey, she's one of our panelists. I know she got the opportunity to actually chat with our chief human resources officer after the program. She got to have a one-on-one meeting with her, which is awesome. You want to get that visibility. The next thing I want to talk about is our MLB baseball games. We take all of our interns as well as some of your mentors and managers to an MLB game. We host an awesome tailgate beforehand to get to know your other interns and also other mentors and managers. And it's an awesome event. It's paid, so you don't have to take the day off to do it or anything like that. You get a paid day to just hang out at the baseball park. It is a pretty good time. We also have our employee resource group fair. As you heard me talk about our employee resource groups earlier, we're going to have a fair. It's essentially like a career fair style event where we're going to have tables set up with representatives from each of our 9 ERGs. This is a chance for you to get to chat with them, find out what kind of events they're doing, pick up swag from each of them, and just get to know which ERGs you might want to join. Like I said, you can join one of them, you can join all of them, but this is just a chance to get to chat with representatives from each of those groups. We also host tons of networking events and social hours just with the interns, so you get that chance to kind of take a break and connect. I know coming up, we are hosting a Lego building event where everybody got to select from 5 different Lego sets, and we're all going to get together and build them together virtually. We also play Jackbox TV games. If anybody is familiar with that platform, it's a virtual gaming platform that's super fun. So we play Jackbox games as well. But we also have lunch and learns. Those are more of those professional skills-based learning opportunities where you get to grab lunch with your peers and also learn from somebody about how to optimize your LinkedIn profile, how to optimize your resume, things like that, to really refine your professional skills as well. The last thing I want to talk about here is our 5G Tech Experience Tour. At T-Mobile, we have a 5G Tech Experience Lab at our Bellevue headquarters. This is where they kind of house all of their different technologies and innovative things that they're coming up with that are powered by 5G technology. So I'm not going to spoil what's in there because we want you to join us for the summer and find out what's in there for yourself. But there's some pretty cool stuff. There might even be a car that runs on 5G in there. So there's all kinds of cool stuff. We want you to come check it out. All right, the last thing I want to talk about is our hiring process. I want to give you guys an idea of the timeline that we're following so that you feel prepared as you go into your application process. Our job applications will be posted here in the next couple weeks. We're hoping for early December. So don't worry if you haven't applied yet, that's okay. You weren't supposed to. So as we get those rolling out, you can actually apply for those at careers.tmobile.com. That's where they'll be posted. You can filter by internship to find those. Once you apply, we're going to have a recruiter like myself or someone else on our team review your resume. Then we're going to pass it along to a manager for their resume review, where they can get to tell if you're a good fit for their team. If you make it through that, then you'll make it through our interview process. And one thing I want to highlight here is that interview on this slide is not plural for a reason. We don't want our interns to have to go through a whole gauntlet of interviews just to find out if they got the role. Most of our interview processes will just be one interview, depends on the hiring manager and what team you're joining, but most of them will just be one interview. And then we'll move on to, if you get the opportunity to sit down with the hiring manager, maybe you'll sit down with a couple members of their team. They decide that you're a good fit. Then a recruiter, again, like myself or someone on my team, will work with you to get your offer letter out to you. And then once that's signed, you are all set to kick off your Magenta summer with us. Awesome. I am so excited to turn it over to my colleague, Kristen, to host our panel of interns. We even have a hiring manager on there. So we're really excited to get all of your questions answered. So I'm going to pass it off to Kristen.
Thanks, Caroline. Lots of really fun stuff in there. Very informative, so thank you. Yeah, so like Caroline said, it's time to meet our panelists. So for our panelists, when introducing yourself, please state your name, the school you're attending, your current title, organization, and then speak to your summer project, explain a little bit about what it was, pitfalls, some wins, all of that. So we'll start with Brianna.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Brianna Rackley. I'm a second year MBA student at the College of William and Mary in Williamsburg, Virginia. I'm currently working, and I worked over the summer as a product marketing manager intern on the T-Mobile Tuesdays team, which, if you don't know, T-Mobile Tuesdays is an app that's all about appreciating T-Mobile customers. I didn't have just one specific summer project. I worked on several different projects over the course of the summer, but two of my bigger projects were first exploring and identifying potential Web3 opportunities for the Tuesdays app to move into. That space was completely new to me, so it took a lot of research on my part, a lot of self-learning on my part, but it ended up being really great. And then I also spent time coming up with a not with T-Mobile conversion strategy for non-T-Mobile customers of other carriers that download the Tuesdays app and poke around in it to see the deals. Trying to figure out how can we message to them and how can we increase the likelihood that they'll switch to T-Mobile.
Awesome, thank you. Desmond, or Des Smith, floor is yours.
Hey everybody, I'm Des Smith, and I'm a director of product and device content, creative content here at T-Mobile. I work in the marketing organization, and I'm part of what's called T Studios. So we actually have T Studios locations here in Bellevue as well as in Overland, Kansas. And actually, I think all 5 of the locations, Kristen, that were mentioned in the presentation for interns are all studio team related locations. So we have folks that work on the studio team in all of those locations right now, but our main studios are here in Kansas. I am responsible for doing all of your product unboxings, how-tos. My team makes all of our YouTube related content for that product type stuff. And of course, I didn't have a summer project because I'm not an intern. I have an everyday project, which is creating great content for the brand. Hopefully my team does that fairly well. We jump out of airplanes. We have been through zero gravity planes. We have run up perfectly good mountains and gone parasailing, you name it. We've done it in an unboxing video at some point in time or another. And so that's what we do. Just a little bit about us.
Thanks, Des. Henry, pass it over to you.
Awesome. Hi everyone, my name is Henry Guin. I am a senior at the University of Washington. I saw a couple people typing down University of Washington, so yeah, go Huskies. I am currently a talent management intern in HR department. We work on employees' performance and also like development. For my summer project, I mostly create communication plan and digitalize our programs. So that include making how-to videos for Workday, for instance, also utilizing my graphic design skills to make newsletters and articles. So yeah.
Awesome. So Casey, we'll pass it on to you.
Hi, I'm Keisha Young. I graduated from Texas A&M this past summer in August. I was an intern for the talent acquisition programs, and I'm currently in a full-time position as a recruiting coordinator. One of the summer projects that I worked on was to create a survey to get feedback about the Workday transition for recruiters from the former system. So I just had to evaluate recruiters' pain points and then use the results of my survey to evaluate how we could solve these issues. It just so happened that I started my internship pretty soon after the implementation of the new system. So I really got to learn a lot about how people adapted to change in that time. And then my second project was that I got to create recruiting workflows for Workday. So I created them for the 4 lines of business at T-Mobile. And I basically just worked with recruiters to hear their feedback, what they wanted in this workflow to make the process easier, so that they could work from creating a job posting to the applicant's hire. And I was just trying to help them make that process easier and smoother.
Thank you. Nathan.
Hi, everyone. My name's Nathan. I'm currently a senior at UW also, so go Huskies as well. I currently work in the frontline treasury operations team, which is pretty much a way to say I make sure that our retail locations have cash on hand all the time. During the summer, my main project was supporting Treasury in its role in a rebuild project. So some of you might know that we recently merged with Sprint. So that project is pretty much converting all those legacy Sprint stores into brand new T-Mobile stores. And my role was pretty much getting the cash out when construction started and then making sure it got back in a timely fashion when they were ready to open up again.
Mina, will you go next?
Yeah, of course. Hey guys, I'm Mina. I'm currently a senior at University of Washington as well. What a surprise. And I'm majoring in informatics. Currently, I'm a part-time intern under the network performance team. So essentially what we do is kind of monitor plans as they roll out to see if they're functioning okay and what we can do better to make the plans function and do they reach customer satisfaction. So my team is more data science focused. If that's something you're interested in, this is a perfect fit. And the project that I've been working on is designing a dashboard that tracks all the plans that we have so far with the SOC codes, which are essentially like features for each of these plans. And this helps us as a team to track plans, but also help come up with new plans. So this is my internship as of now, and I'll be joining as an associate engineer later this December as well. So thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for introducing yourselves. We'll transition into the question portion of the event. And I have a question for Brianna. What was the interview process like and how did you prepare for it?
Gotcha. Yeah. So when I was notified that I had gotten the interview by the recruiter, I was sent over a job description, which was super important in the process for me because it turned out that I was actually interviewing for a different position than what I had initially applied for, which can happen sometimes. So I started my interview prep there. I made sure that I understood the position that I was interviewing for, what they were looking for in a candidate for that specific role. And then I moved into looking at the company. So I did a lot of research on the website. I looked at what their values are, what T-Mobile's mission statement is, the CEO. I looked up revenues. And then I took a look at recent mentions, both in the news and on social media as well, to make sure that I could speak to things that were currently at that time relevant to the company, things that were going on that might come up. 2 questions I prepped for that worked in my favor were, first, of course, the notorious tell me about yourself. and then why this company or why this position, and being able to answer those really well in a conversational way was really important, at least in my interview. And then, like I think Caroline mentioned earlier, I had just one 30-minute interview with the direct manager of the position that I applied for.
Awesome. Thank you. Des, what was the interview process like from a hiring manager perspective? Like, what were you looking for specifically in an intern for your specific role?
Yeah, well, thanks for asking. So I actually looked back at my notes from the interview process, and the notes here that we have, and I appreciate Brianna as well for mentioning is someone who had done their homework, someone who had done a little research. I actually just saw a question in the chat, so I'm not going to call out any names, but someone said, what makes T-Mobile different from other carriers? Well, we're not a carrier, first of all. So you would learn that real quickly by looking at our website. But some of the things I was looking for my team for a great fit from an intern was someone who is enthusiastic, potentially a storyteller. That's what we do, whether it's short attention span theater and we're making YouTube shorts or TikToks or Reels or whatever. We have to communicate information in a very easy way for people to understand. We have to grab their attention and we have to get them excited about our brand and what we're helping them fix. So a storyteller with enthusiasm, someone who is bringing new ideas to our team. So we had a couple of intern candidates that both brought in and came in and said, we have a plan that in the first 30 days, I'd like to be able to do this. And in 60 days, I'd love to be able to do this. That makes it really easy for a hiring manager to say, this person's going to come in. They're going to try different things. They're going to share their knowledge and experience that they have, their background, and help improve the team or enhance the team, if you will. And that was a breath of fresh air. So we really appreciated that. And I put another note down here from the conversation earlier. I think you mentioned no one would be grabbing coffee as an intern. Our intern actually worked a full-time job as well as was a full-time intern for us. And I think we were grabbing them coffee more than they might have been grabbing us coffee because we needed to keep them going and enthusiastic. And it was tons of fun. We, like I said, we do unboxing and how-to videos. We drove to Oregon to go to In-N-Out Burger for a story we told about a Google device. I mean, we do crazy stuff all the time. So we need to keep them up and moving. It's an exciting opportunity for all of you guys. So good luck in your interviews.
Thank you. So the next question goes to Henry. What was the onboarding process like for you specifically?
Thank you so much. I feel like for me, like onboarding could be, like as challenging as like solving a calculus problem because there's so many like variables in that, like parking, paperwork. But I feel like I was really lucky at T-Mobile because it was really smooth because I remember like 2 or 3 months before I started my internship, I got some small emails from T-Mobile internship onboarding. And through this email, I was able to introduce myself to my team, get my managers and my mentors introduction, and as well as the expectation in what to prepare for day one as well. So that was really helpful. Not to mention, as a T-Mobile intern, you get equipment as well from the company. And as an intern, I was able to get all my equipment from day one to be able to work from like the start day. Just a quick tips, I would highly recommend connect with the mentors and mentee maybe like 1 month prior to the internship to talk about like what would be your goals, what would be some skill you want to learn, because this would help them identify some people for you to like connect with at the beginning of the internship. So to make your onboarding process easier, to get to know, so you get to know like the people in the company.
Nice. Okay, Casey, the next question is for you. What was your most memorable networking / event moment that you had during your internship?
Yeah, so Caroline during her presentation mentioned the executive speaker events and how I was able to set up a one-on-one with our chief HR officer. I felt like that was something that I really enjoyed. After the speaker events, and I was able to attend in person I was able to do a little bit of a soft introduction, just tell her a little bit about myself. And then after that, I reached out to her through email to set up a one-on-one. And I really liked getting her insight. And I asked her questions about my future career, any advice that she had about balancing personal and professional activities, and especially where in the company she thought I would fit best. And as an intern, I didn't expect to be able to get so up close and personal with executive leaders and be able to ask them questions. And another thing I would recommend that I personally try to do a lot in the office is just get to know people around you. That way, if you're interested in any other roles, you can ask people to shadow them for a day or just get to know them and network that on your own. And so that's some of the tips that I have.
Perfect. Yeah, going into the office definitely gives you that face-to-face interaction. And so that's why we are moving away from remote and having more in-person interaction. It definitely helps with networking for sure. So thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Nathan, the next question is to you. So how much autonomy do you think you have in the work that you do on a day-to-day?
I would say I have a really high level of autonomy, especially like even from the beginning of my internship. A lot of the work I do is project management. So that means it's not necessarily like how you solve the problem, but whether or not you can solve the problem. So while I had a ton of support from my team, like anytime I needed questions or anything like that, the investigation and finding solutions was really on my shoulders. One of the things my leadership was really encouraging about like during this process was finding my own ways to kind of improve the processes that were already like implemented in our treasury team. There were a lot of things that were already in place, but that didn't mean that I had to strictly follow them step by step. So I was really encouraged to, if I saw a better way to do something, they really wanted me to try it out, kind of see if it works. And then if it does, bring it back to the team and we can start to implement it across the rest of everybody. It was really cool to be able to like make suggestions for how to do things better. And then a couple weeks later, I have like teammates asking me how they could do it better or something like that. And then T-Mobile also gives you a lot of really cool tools. I really have fallen in love with some of the automation tools that we use, UiPath and Alteryx. They really give you a whole new way to try and solve problems. And those tools weren't really implemented in my team. So I really kind of got a sandbox opportunity to see where they fit and how we could use them.
Awesome. Thank you. And last but certainly not least, Mina. The next question goes to you. What skills have you gained that will carry into your future career?
Yeah, so a little story is the first 2 years of my college, I was a pre-med major. So I had little to less unfamiliarity with coding languages or informatics in general. So once I had experience through college courses, I was actually really nervous to apply and get into internships. So, but once I did, I'm so glad I did, because I've come a long way in learning and working with big data, because you're dealing with millions and millions of customer data. So definitely feel more comfortable with SQL, R, Python, but at the same time, I've learned a lot of new softwares like Alteryx, Azure. And in terms of personal growth, I feel like I've really learned the power of networking. If you're an introvert, it's high time, and they really push you to interact with your peers and build that professional relationship, because that really goes a long way in your career path. So definitely a huge personal growth opportunity for me.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate all your answers and for participating. So let's hear it for our amazing panelists. Awesome. Before we open the floor to a broader Q&A portion of the event, does anyone have any specific questions they'd like to ask our panelists? Anything in the Q&A that we can maybe address? Caroline?
We have a couple. Yep, we have a couple in the Q&A. So let's see. Let's start out with Mina. What is it like coming in with an informatics background into what you're doing now?
I think they go really perfectly hand in hand. I know with my college with informatics, we work on a lot of team projects related to coding, data visualization. So some of the softwares like Tableau and Power BI were something that my team used on a daily basis. So it was really easy for me to transition the knowledge I learned from college to a corporate setting. But you also have a great opportunity to learn new things, and the team is always very supportive in segueing you into learning these software. So I would say if you have a good background with informatics in college, you should be really enjoying your internship.
Thanks, Mina. All right, we have another question for Nathan. For treasury operations, how did you prepare for the interview, and what did your resume look like beforehand?
So I prepared by kind of going over our most recent earnings call. Like they had mentioned earlier, you really want to be able to drop a couple facts to make it seem like you really are invested in the company. You care about what you're going to be doing and who you're going to be working for. So part of my interview process was going through our most recent earnings call and actually presenting it to our SVP, which is the treasurer of T-Mobile. So it was nervous because, as a student, I don't necessarily know all the fine details that go into corporate finance, but they were super awesome about it. They were helpful. They could see kind of where my gaps in knowledge were, so they could really push on projects that would help me develop those areas. I actually turned out to be a lot more project management than I expected. So it wasn't as finance based, which is what my my major is. But a lot of my classes, they teach you the foundational project management skills. So
thanks, Nathan. Let's see. So this next one is for Casey or Henry. Maybe both of you can answer. But what is something that you love about the human resources internship program?
I think one of the things that I really thought was cool is how many areas of HR you could get an internship in. I had friends who were in more of the payroll and compensation side, also in more of the legal side as an HR partner, or like I was in talent acquisition. And so I think that was something really cool that you may not realize, that because T-Mobile is such a big company, we do have a lot of smaller sections within HR that you can get an internship in.
I would second what Casey just said. I think I always tell my managers or mentors that I feel like human resource is like a multi-universe where you can basically do everything. For example, for me, coming from a communication background, I never thought I could do, videography in human resource. So that would be a great thing about HR.
Awesome. Thank you both. Des, can you please tell us about the kind of projects that interns in your team have worked on?
Sure. So as I mentioned before, we are primarily the content creators for the YouTube channel. And the intern that worked with us this past summer came up with the concept. So we get a project assigned to us. There's a new phone coming out, new accessory coming out, whatever the case may be. In this particular case, it was a phone. They learned about the product. We did a little kickoff deck with the product manager. We then went through a product brief and talked about great marketing features of that product. The intern then worked on the concept for what we were going to do for our unboxing, wrote the script, created a shot list. We did all the filming ourselves, both in the studio and outside of the studio. Then they managed that project through the post process, through the editing, through the motion graphics, any supers, anything like that. They then sent that project on to our legal team and went through the legal review process, and then worked with our agency that actually publishes videos for us up on our YouTube page and hit publish on the video. So up on T-Mobile's YouTube page, you'll see lots of different pieces of content, but specifically unboxing videos. And some of those videos were made, two of them that I can think of off the top of my head, were made by our intern themselves over the summer here.
Awesome, thanks. This is a question that maybe several people on the call can answer. I'd love to hear from Des again, if you are willing, from a hiring manager perspective. But what qualities make a potential intern a good fit? And what makes a candidate stand out when you're reviewing resumes?
Sure. So I think I saw that one earlier. The toughest part for us in reviewing the resumes is it's a lot of words, right? But we actually get to see your resume. And there were a couple of resumes. In fact, the individual who we chose, their resume was formatted slightly differently. They had a headline and they said what they wanted to do almost in bold bold print, so to speak. I'm not recommending everybody do that, but that resume did stand out just in the way it looked. And when you're kind of going through it and you're looking at all these different things, they proclaimed who and what they wanted to be and how they were going to help us. That led us to, of course, be interested in getting into that interview. And then in the interview, they were themselves. We had a few interviews where the interns were wonderful, but very almost data driven. I've done 10,000 different things. I've done all these things. And the person, again, I was looking for a storyteller. I was looking for someone authentic. And so that really resonated for my role and the person we ended up ultimately hiring. Warm, generous, had done the research. I can't tell you how much that's important to us, because if you come into T-Mobile not knowing what we're about, that's going to be the shortest interview you have ever had. And that's just a fact of life, right? And so that was really great to have that experience and to have those, 2 or 3 stood out for sure. We looked at, gosh, I think Kristen will correct me if I'm wrong. I think about 12 different resumes, maybe a couple more. There were a few. There were a few that came through, right? And it was, it's the one that stands out, the one that proclaims what you're excited about, what you want to do. And if it's the right fit for what we're looking for, that gets you to the next level. And then you're in there selling yourself for sure.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
So the last one, it looks like we have in here right now. So we've still got time for Q&A if you'll have more questions for our panelists. But what makes T-Mobile unique from its competitors? Des, you touched on this a little bit earlier and you mentioned the Un-carrier. I'm curious if anybody wants to kind of elaborate, what does the Un-carrier mean? I know before I was at T-Mobile, I didn't really know what it meant, but would somebody like to kind of elaborate on that?
Come on, Un-carrier means you jump in there. You roll up your sleeves and you do it, right? I am T-Mobile, count on me. That's one of our key values. And so everybody should be jumping in on this one, all of our interns and everybody, right? But that's it. And it's funny, the funny part about, do we have tattoos? Yes. Do we have piercings? Yes. Do we have pink hair? No, but I'm follically challenged. It's just going to be that way, right? But be authentic, be yourself. And that's how you're part of the team. That's us, right?
Yeah, exactly. I want to just add on to, even from like a standpoint of customer service, it's that they always want to be there for the customer and be able to service anyone at any time. From a treasury perspective, one of the things I see all the time is that we have cash in every single store, and that's not just because it's necessary for operations. It's because we want to be able to serve any customer that walks in through our door at any time, for any reason, through any method. Even we have still old Sprint stacks set up in our stores. So if an old Sprint customer comes into a T-Mobile store, they can still be helped no matter where they're at.
And I think just to add on to that, Un-carrier is a spirit, it's an energy. With us at T-Mobile, we did it first when it comes to the wireless industry. So I think as an intern, if your team has never done it, you can do it first. You can be the one to initiate it, right? Like we were the first ones to say, hey, if you're traveling internationally, we're not going to charge you an arm and a leg. We were the first ones to offer additional services like free Netflix on us, right? We do things differently. So as you go into your interview, if you want to do something differently, like say, hey, this is a virtual interview, I have the chance to show one of my projects, let me share my screen. Do that. I think one thing that Des really touched on with the candidates that impressed him is that they were authentically themselves and they were able to showcase what they were passionate about. And I'm mentioning that because it answers not only how are we Un-carrier, but also what's going to make you stand out. If you can showcase that Un-carrier spirit in your interview, in your resume, that's really going to give you that leg up. Because it's not like something that you could really identify. It's really being authentically yourself, being willing to challenge the status quo and be just being different.
Yep. We'll know it when we see it. And it's really hard for me to say, don't be shy in your interview, but do your research, come be yourself, and you'll stand out for sure.
All right. We have a question specifically for Henry. What are the biggest challenges that you face as an intern?
I feel like the biggest challenge that I face as an intern is I feel like just be afraid to ask question and seek for help. I feel like coming from a background as a first generation, I don't have anyone. I'm a first kind of like generation in my family going to a corporate kind of like background settings. So I was kind of like didn't know how to ask for help. So that was the biggest challenge for me. But having a mentors and also like a managers was just really helpful because they always kind of like push you to be in careers, push you to ask questions and kind of like step outside of the box.
I can add on to that a little bit, going off of what Henry said. For me personally, like I said, I was in marketing. I'm still in marketing, and I had come from working in food and beverage, which it was a little bit more straightforward than telecom. So once I started my internship, there were just so many acronyms, so many words that I was unfamiliar with, teams I was unfamiliar with, processes I was unfamiliar with. So I spent a lot of the first couple of weeks just trying to learn the basics. And then similar to what Henry said, making sure that you're okay and comfortable with asking those questions, which your managers will do a great job of, was really pivotal for me and being able to make progress on that forefront.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. We have another question. Is this anybody's first internship?
I can answer this. It's not only my first internship, but also my first experience in a corporate setting. Like I said, I was working in labs and suddenly I'm at T-Mobile. So, but I can assure you that your manager and your mentor do a really good job of making sure you're comfortable before you have the responsibility of taking a project on your own. So the first 2-3 weeks, all you're doing is absorbing the energy in your team, what they're working on, understanding what they're working on. And for me, my manager was actually generous enough to have weekly meetings and literally they were called check-in with Mina, and each team member from our team would talk to me about what they're working on. So, and I had an opportunity to choose from what the meetings were and see like where my interest is and focus my project on that. So you really don't have to be nervous if it's your first internship or even your first experience in a corporate setting.
We're not going to let you publish YouTube videos at the beginning of the summer, maybe at the end of the summer.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, panelists. We are so thankful for you being here to answer questions from a hiring manager perspective, from an intern perspective. Kristen and I got a few different questions before we actually hosted this event. I know some of our attendees submitted questions, so we're just going to take a minute to address some of those. They're more program related. The first question that we got was, what types of openings do you have and how many interns do you plan to hire? T-Mobile is a really large company, right? As you've heard from a lot of our interns, we have tons and tons of different opportunities. I believe this year we plan to hire around 250 interns. So we have lots of different positions for you to apply to. That being said, I think probably the only major group that we maybe don't hire from is like medical, but we have everything from real estate to, the tech engineering side. Just because T-Mobile is a tech company doesn't mean that we only have tech internships, right? There's stuff all across the board in so many different areas for you to explore. So I would encourage you, as we start posting some of those requisitions here in the next couple weeks, just to keep an eye on our website. Don't feel like you have to, specifically apply to an HR role or, if you're looking for that. There's lots of different opportunities, explore, and you might find something new.
So the next question that I wanted to address is, what qualities does T-Mobile want in an intern and what helps you stand out? I would say that for us, we are looking for someone that shares the same values as T-Mobile. We're looking for a well-rounded candidate who has passion for what they do and what they want to do. We do not have a GPA requirement, so that's something to think about. And then something that really helps you stand out, everybody is going to college, everyone is applying to the same internship that you are, right? So something that can help you stand out is your extracurricular activities. So for example, volunteering is a great example. This provides an opportunity to develop your leadership skills in many ways. Volunteers can gain different perspectives, build relationships, and to master new skills as well. So
Great. I can take the next one, and maybe some of our panel members can also chime in on this one. But what is one thing at T-Mobile that has enabled you to step up your work productivity to the next level? For myself, I would say the flexibility in the work schedule. I don't have to feel guilty about stepping away from my desk in the middle of the day to take a break. I don't have to just be at my desk 100% of the time. Some people have different working styles, right? You may work a lot better in the morning or a lot better in the evening, or you may be the type of person that's like, I got to work for 20 minutes and then take a 10-minute break and go back and forth with that. So having that kind of flexibility has been really great for me in my productivity, just to kind of utilize that as best as I can. But anybody else can chime in if they have something different as well.
Yeah, one of the things that really helped me was just knowing that I had the support of my manager and my mentor to just like reach out to them if I needed help with anything or just wanted to learn more. And also like, I think Nathan was talking about autonomy and stuff. I think having a manager that's willing to like let you do your own thing and have that space to experiment and learn something before you ask for help, I think was also something that I really liked having.
I'll jump in and add. Yeah, I'll add one little thing. I think this is a kind of a different look on this, but when you're thinking about your internship, think about what you might like for a career, but think about what you might like for your future. I've been here, next week will be 23 years at T-Mobile. So for some of you guys coming in as interns, I started working here before your parents thought about you. And I've literally had 3 different careers here. So I was an engineer for the better part of 8 years, and then product development and product marketing for just about 10. And then since then, content creation and social media. And I never would have thought when I started, just on a whim, taking basically an intern type role here at what was formerly Western Wireless, T-Mobile's original parent company way back in the day, that it would have ended up to be something like this. And it's been fantastic. So be open to opportunities. If you get the chance, take it and make it what you want.
I love that, Des. I know we are at time, so I think that was just a great note to wrap up. Caroline and Kristen, I will go ahead and let you guys wrap up, but I do want to emphasize for anybody who is thinking about applying, you know, we had over 183 questions, I think it was, in the chat. So lots of engagement. A lot of those questions we answered directly. A lot of interest. T-Mobile is one of the best companies to work for. I don't know of any other company that chooses magenta as its color. It just speaks to our personality as a company. But be yourself. You should never have to tailor your resume, your experience to fit the company. The company should already be a fit. So with that, Caroline, Kristen, go ahead and close this out.
Well, thank you so much for everybody and for our panelists for participating today and for joining our call and learning a little bit more about T-Mobile. We're so excited for this next summer internship program coming up. Be aware that our positions will start to trickle down into our career site at the end of, beginning of December. So please check back. And we're just so grateful and thankful for all of you for joining. Thank you so much. Caroline, do you have anything to add?
I think y'all wrapped it up really nicely. Thank you so much for attending and listening to us. We're super thankful for you all, and I cannot wait to see some of your applications rolling in.
With that, everyone have a great night, a great afternoon, and take care.